Hello there, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I'm your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. And today I want to talk about the tie, because I think it would be fair to say that the necktie has fallen out of grace with men in this modern era. I mean, many chaps today would consider changing out of their athleisure sweatshirt into a garment which has buttons to be something of a step up in their style. They think that's dressing smartly. But I still believe that there is a place for the necktie in the wardrobe of all intentionally well-dressed men. And I'm going to convince you of that today in 5 simple tips that I think will prove that the tie has a place for you. So let us begin. Okay, now my first point of argument in favour of the necktie is the fact that it makes the wearer stand out from the crowd. When we look back at the early origins of the necktie, we know that it's evolved from a neckwear which was worn by Croatian mercenaries who wore brightly coloured items around their neck, scarves in effect, which allowed them to distinguish each other on the battlefield from the enemy. When these Croatian mercenaries were employed by the French in the 100 Years' War, they came to Paris, and the Parisians, who were very stylish, observed the Croatians with these brightly coloured neckwear, and they started wearing them themselves. In fact, even King Louis XIV came to love and adore these cravats, as they came to be called, after the Croatians, the cravat, and he started wearing a cravat as part of his daily wear. As is often the case, when the nobility is seen wearing something, it cascades down through the population. And the necktie, as it was then a cravat, came to be seen as something of an item of status. And it embodied respect and gravitas for the wearer. It was aristocratic rank in effect. And over time, of course, that cravat has evolved into the necktie that we wear today, and it still has this element of status associated with nobility, and other people of respectable positions. And as a consequence, it makes you stand out from the crowd, as it did those early Croatians. And that's a good reason why, if you want to stand out from the crowd, you should consider wearing a tie. Now, another really important reason why you should consider wearing a necktie is career enhancement. It's without a doubt, the tie is seen as part of the expected uniform of a professional or a leader. I mean, when you see any international head of state, a prime minister or a president on the television in any situation, can you imagine them not wearing a tie? It is absolutely part of, the expected uniform of somebody of high status. And that carries across to daily life as well. It signals your ambition. So when you go into the office, even if you're a junior member of staff, if you dress like a leader, you will be perceived as a leader. People will look at you and realise, here's somebody who's up and coming. Here's somebody who's making an effort, who's dressing the part of perhaps the job that they're on their way to achieving, rather than the one that they're in right now. And if you think that sounds unlikely, do people really take any notice? Well, I've got a good example for you. In the 1980s, this chap here, John T. Malloy, who's a bit of a style guru from that era, from the 1980s and 1990s, he wrote this book called Dress for Success. I use it as a bit of as a reference point, because there's lots of scientific research which he undertook, which underpins the importance of style. And in one particular experiment he undertook, he took 2 photographs of the same man. All right, same chap. In one photograph, this man was wearing a tie. In another photograph, he wasn't wearing a tie. And the experiment is outlined in his book. But he took those 2 photographs and he showed them to 100 people, randomly from the public. And he asked the people to make an assessment of how much money they thought was the expected salary of both individuals. And amazingly, the image of the guy wearing the tie, the public apportioned him a salary of nearly $5,000 more than the man who was tieless, showing really that it is the public's perception that a man who wears a tie would earn more money than somebody who doesn't. So the importance and the value of that experiment to us ordinary people, us intentionally well-dressed men, is that if you wear a necktie with your standard clothing that you wear to work, your work uniform in effect, it can be leveraged. It can be an opportunity for you to be seen as ambitious, as well-dressed, as respectable, and potentially somebody who has a higher earning potential than you have today. Now, my third reason for suggesting to you that the tie is a valuable addition to your ensemble of clothing is quite simply confidence. The tie, as we've said, is seen as a symbol of professionalism and competence. And it bestows upon the wearer of that tie a hike in the perceptions of others. And this can be seen in other ways too. I'll give you an example. Let me reach into my pocket and draw out my reading glasses. All right, I'm going to put these on now. Now, when you wear glasses, there is a perception from other people that it increases your appearance of intelligence. All right, even though there's no reason for it to do so, we think of people wearing spectacles as being, intelligent, smart people. But the reality is, it's absolutely got nothing to do with the intelligence of the wearer. But spectacles puts us in mind of other very intelligent people who through history have worn spectacles. So it gives the wearer that hike in the perception that if they wear glasses, they're intelligent. Think about other items of clothing. Think about the white coat, all right? When you go to see the doctor, if the doctor is not wearing a white coat, you perhaps subliminally would think, are they really a doctor? However, if the doctor is wearing a white coat, maybe a tie, it absolutely screams professional competence, and it gives you confidence in that person's abilities for no good reason. It's simply an item that they're wearing, like spectacles, but it works, doesn't it? And you imagine if you wear a tie, it has the same effect on others. It makes them have confidence in you because you look the part. And as we've said before, if you look the part and you have this professional uniform, people will have confidence in you. If people have confidence in you, you will have increased self-assurance in your own abilities. This will boost your own confidence. I don't know about you, but if I've got a big event coming up, all right, if I'm giving a speech to a conference, I wouldn't dream of going on stage without wearing a collar and a tie and a suit, because it's my professional uniform. It makes me feel confident. It might be confidence in my appearance alone, not in my performance, but every little bit of confidence counts in our lives. So by wearing a tie, if it makes the people I speak to have confidence in me, and it makes me have confidence in my own abilities, well, is this not a win-win situation? Why wouldn't you wear a tie? So if you want to improve your confidence from others and yourself, get that tie around your neck. Well, my fourth reason is one which should be obvious to the intentionally well-dressed chap, which I know you probably are if you're watching this channel. But a necktie improves your look. Now, imagine I'm standing here right now and I'm not wearing a tie, all right? All I'm doing is wear a navy blazer and a white shirt. It would be rather bland. It would be devoid of character, devoid of life in reality. I've selected the tie I've worn today very carefully. It's a shocking pink tie because it just screams colour, character. It's an expression of my inner self. And the tie allows me to do that. If you think about it, a tie is an essentially pointless accessory. It doesn't keep you warm, it doesn't keep you dry, it does very little other than bring excitement to your look. And it can turn what can be a very boring ensemble of clothing into something with a lot of pizzazz. As you can see, a shocking pink tie, it brings a lot to the game. Now, think of your standard work clothing. If you're in the habit of wearing a grey suit, maybe a charcoal coloured suit, maybe a white shirt, maybe a blue shirt with it, it doesn't really say much about you. You could wear a pocket square, but it's such a small little flash of colour. It's a great accent, but it's not the main item in your clothing. It's the bridesmaid, not the bride. The main item, the bride of your clothing, is the tie. Now, a snappy tie, a jazzy tie with lots of colour, can really make you look so much more full of life and exuberance. A sombre tie, like a black tie, it tones everything down. That's why people wear them to funerals. A tie sets the tone for pretty much all of the clothing that you're wearing. It really alters your look. Why would you not want to bring such a main player to the party of your clothing? So wear a tie to improve your look. Now, my final reason for arguing that the tie has a place in your wardrobe is it commands respect, all right? Particularly in this era, where very few people go to the effort of wearing a necktie at all. Even people who are, quite senior in their organizations, in business, they choose to go tieless these days. So if you wear a tie, it says that you care, right? And in many cases, that simple effort of caring, of making that determination in the morning that I'm wearing a tie and I'm choosing that tie for the sort of mood that I've got, the sort of activity I've got planned for that day, it makes a difference. It's got a subliminal effect on the people that you meet. They will maybe not even notice that you're wearing a tie, but it will register upon them that you're a smart, well-turned-out individual. And this can have consequences for you in many ways. Not just within your workplace, where people will see you as a go-getter, but in general life. If you walked into a shop at the same time as another person, and the other guy is tieless, maybe he's wearing, that classic athleisure sweatsuit, and you're well dressed, as I am, perhaps blazer, shirt and tie, and there's only one sales agent. Who do you think they're going to speak to first? They're going to speak to the man who's the best dressed, because like it or not, the best dressed person commands respect. I can tell you this so many times, right? If somebody comes up to you in the street and they need to attract your attention, if you're well dressed, the chances are they're not going to say, "Hey, buddy." They're likely to say, "Hey, sir," because it's this subliminal effect on people's minds. The well-dressed man commands respect. Now, a lot of people don't like this. They think that, we should all be taken the same in this world, whether we're well-dressed or not. But that suggests going against the nature, human nature, which has been sort of sartorially created over the centuries. Well-dressed has status. It might no longer mean aristocratic status, as when King Louis XIV wore a cravat, but it still has the residual effects. The well-dressed man is considered to be professional, considered to earn more money, considered to be a person who is worthy of respect. In many cases, it's not true, but we can leverage the effect that a tie gives us in day-to-day wear. And these are all good reasons why I believe you should always have a selection of ties at your disposal within your wardrobe for you to choose every day, depending on what you're going to do, how you wish to feel. Pick the tie which matches the events of the day. It might be shocking pink, or it might be very muted and subdued. But you can't do anything if you don't wear a tie. Now, my personal tie wearing journey began when I was a child of 11 years of age, when I went up to my secondary education and the school uniform mandated the wearing of a blazer and tie. And my father taught me a half Windsor knot. And since then, my life has been all about wearing ties, because I left school, I went into the military. In the Royal Air Force, we wore ties as part of our daily uniform. I left the military and I became a police officer, a law enforcement professional. And part of my patrol uniform in my early days, I wore a tie. When I transitioned and became a detective, I wore a professional business uniform, a suit, always wore a tie. Now, I'm a civil servant, in effect, I work for a government agency, and I wear a tie as part of my daily attire. So I can testify that wearing a tie definitely has an impact on the people that you meet and on you as the wearer. I wouldn't imagine going into any professional situation if I was tieless. No, it's just par for the course. And of course you choose the little nuances of your tie, whether you're a Windsor knot, a half Windsor, a 4-in-hand, really depends on the type of tie that you're wearing, I would suggest. But a tie absolutely can be leveraged to positive effect for every intentionally well-dressed man. One thing I can say for absolute sure is that my life would be a little more grey, a little more boring, a little more devoid of colour and devoid of character if I didn't wear a tie. And I think most of you watching this will agree. And probably in October every year when International Tie Day comes around, like me, you throw a little party to thank what the necktie has brought us well-dressed men. So I hope you have enjoyed this video today on my 5 reasons why I think everybody should wear a necktie. If you have enjoyed the video, of course you can help me out by giving the video a thumbs up. If you like the material we produce here, click the red button and subscribe. You can even leave me a coffee if you'd like to buy me a coffee. You'll find a link to that in the show notes below, or click that button which says super thanks down next to the thumbs up symbol as well. It all helps keep the channel doing the work that we like to bring you. So until the next time, wear your tie with pride, passion and panache. Look your very best in every situation. Leverage that opportunity to positive effect in your life. And I will see you again very soon.